Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder, here with a continuation video of what we did yesterday, since my daily says cast 20 black or red Atraxas. I think there's only black Atraxas, so we are going to be playing that deck again today, which is going to be the Kona. So I am working on a post-rotation Kona. The mana base is a little bit off, but we are going to be getting the Shocklands. So the Hushwood Verge is I was looking at these. I'm like, man, the mana base is gonna be awful post rotation because we lose the pain lands and the fast lands for the ones that were printed from Dominaria all the way up to March Machines. And I can't remember if it's all of them or if some of them were printed in the sets. Yeah, I can't remember. Right? We're losing those at least for the ally colors of all of them, but we are getting Shocklands. So the Hushwood Verge type lands, the whatever you want to call the kind of check lands. I don't know. What do they call these ones? Someone in the comment section below tell me what they call the nickname for these lands. They're going to get a lot better with the shocks and a lot more reliable. But anyway, so I think post-rotation, this deck mainly sticks around as the Atraxa. You have to find something better to cast than Atraxas. You could go more of a mid-range route with Yuna, being an alternate way to get things back from the graveyard. And then, of course, just run something like Overlord of the Balamurk. Or you could even go Yuna with things like the Fear of Missing Out, like they already have that deck with Overlords. I mean, this I think that Kona, though, does have a lot of potential with the Phoenix down. There have been so many games that I've played in the past couple days where my opponent would have so much graveyard hate, and it doesn't matter because they'll exile everything out of the graveyard, and then you tap a Kona, and then you get an Atraxa come into play. Or in this post-rotation deck, it'll be something other than Atraxa. But anyway, let's go to the deck that I've been working on. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, the whole theory of this deck is to Phoenix down a Kona, and if not, there are other ways to actually tap the Kona. I took those out of this particular deck because all of them, I think, made me lose more than they won. A land coming into play tapped, and being as quick as only turn 5, or I guess turn 4 if you have like a Llanowar Elf or other acceleration. But that land that came into play tapped, and then you could tap a creature to add a mana, that was an alternate way to tap Kona, ends up actually being, it was losing me more games than they were winning. And same thing with the Relic. The Relic was good when it worked, when it gave you an option with a Kona, but I think just relying on like a Lumbering Worldwagon is actually enough to actually, between the Phoenix down and the Worldwagon, there are plenty of ways to make Kona either come into play tap or tap after you cast it and then get its effect. So for those who don't know how this works, if you haven't watched yesterday's video, if this is tapped on your second main phase, you could just put a card from your hand into play. So a permanent into play from your hand. And it allows for a turn 3, and it's very consistent for a turn 3 Atraxa. And for this deck, I decided to cut out a lot of the fluff that I was messing around with, and just decided to go all in on the better reanimation cards. I'm still a little bit off with Bahamut. The destroying up to one non-land permanent is good. It just is strictly better than a lot of other ones. I was like, okay, maybe destroy like an artifact or enchantment cards could work. The 9 mana is a bit of an issue because this deck does want you to hard cast things, but you do want to get as much value out of cheating something you play with Kona. And this has put in a lot of work lately. I don't know what the right amount is, whether we go up to 3 copies. You don't want too many cards that can get stuck in your hand. So Atraxa still is the best card to reanimate, in my opinion. It just completely blanks a ton of decks right now, like Gruul, like a lot of like the Celestial aggro decks. If they don't have a way to remove this card, you just win games off of Atraxa, and Atraxa just refills your hand, and so you have a lot more kind of what we call staying power, a lot more pressure later on. So the other one is Portal Phyrexia. This one is going to hurt with rotation because you do want some sort of way to control the board. However, there might actually be a better thing than Portal to Phyrexia of just like something coming in and destroying all creatures, because often I've gone against a couple token decks right now where they just didn't care when I ramped out a Portal Phyrexia. What's really cool about Portal Phyrexia too is then you are going to start getting value out of all of your cards that you put into the graveyard through your self-mill strategies. And this could just actually be the Virtue of Persistence. It plays a very similar role. Of course, you don't get that big ETB effect, but what I like about Virtue of Persistence is you can actually -3 and get 3 early for some control effect to help you stabilize. However, what I've noticed with this deck, it doesn't really care too much against aggro decks. Again, this is really because of Atraxa just blanking them. And same thing with mid-range decks. You don't really have to worry about interacting and controlling your opponent's early aggression as much. So Phoenix down this is going to get back the Kona. We're going to try to self-mill and try to find a Kona in the graveyard and then get it back tapped. And then I wish I was recording the videos earlier because I did like 3 turn 3s in a row. And one was actually against a Wizard of the Coast employee that actually duressed the combo out of my hand. And I still top decked into one. It was pretty funny. Anyway, so we're just going to actually get some gameplays and have some fun with this, but I'm liking this. This is what I used to do with Rogue Deck Builder. I take like an idea and then perfect it. So I don't know how long I'll be on this deck for, but we'll try to play some games and show some footage, and we'll mix things up. I'm trying to get kind of my bearings again. I know this channel used to be quite popular, and I've kind of forgotten how to do videos and commentate, but stick with me. We'll figure it out. Anyway, we're going to play some best of ones because I haven't built a sideboard for this deck yet. I've definitely thought about some cards in the sideboard. Yeah, there are a lot of interesting cards. I was looking at like the Smugglers. There's another self-mill card that also can put 2 creatures into play from your hand. That seems like a pretty powerful effect too, with these Saga creatures, these Saga enchantments actually being creatures as well. Okay, so this is actually a risky hand because we don't have a turn 1 elf or 3 mana, but we do have a Dredgers and a Cash Grab, so both of them are good. One of the cute combos I had in here too was the Say Nothing or Say No More, which if you had 3 of them in your graveyard, you could get a free 9/9 out, but it ended up being, again, a 9/9 that didn't have an ETB, ended up being quite weak. We're going to go ahead and just start with the Forest. We get another Dredger's Insight. This card is actually pretty good against aggressive decks. We'll just go ahead and lead off with one. And yeah, I'm not sure what we're going up against. Some sort of... All right. We have some options here. Sephiroth in our hand is okay and Kona in the graveyard. However, we don't have... I think we keep Kona in the graveyard, to be honest. I'm actually okay with keeping both of them in the graveyard and just taking a Plains. I'm actually fine with that. So it looks kind of weird if you're looking at my decision there, but we want to guarantee land drops, and we would have had one anyway, but it's fine. And now we can... I think I'll just go with another Dredger's Insight. And now we'll get back. Oh, at this point, just an elf. And gain 2 life. Ends up being kind of a terrible double self-mill. So we're definitely not doing a turn 3 here. Well, yeah, we'd have to have a Phoenix, which we did not hit. And people are playing main board Cease to Desist, huh? Guess it. Oh, actually, that is actually really cool. I didn't even think about this card, Cease to Desist, because this card is very relevant right now versus Overlords, as well as versus the Artifact deck, the Simulacrum deck, that's super popular. And it's got the built-in Cease that you can just basically cantrip it. Yeah, really cool card. I'll have to start using this in some Michael Gari shells that I've been messing around with. Okay, so at least here, unless our opponent has a counter spell, which they don't because they can't activate it, we're going to get an Overlord out. So this ends up being a pretty... What I like about this deck, this is exactly why I added the Overlords. I guess I didn't go over all the changes I made, but this deck just ends up being more of like a mid-range. Like you can actually you can cast a lot of the cards. And Overlord's actually kind of cool too to even crew your vehicle, because it's a 6/5, you have to hard cast it. They're probably going to map it, and which is fine. Nope, they're just going to cantrip and not exile anything from my graveyard. Why? Why wouldn't they do that? Okay, so we're going to get very close to just hard casting Sephiroths with our opponent stumbling. So let's go with a Forest and then just attack in. Yeah, that's what I love about the Overlord going this route, is you end up just... Do I even like run out cash grabs? Like I could actually find something to play right here. Yeah, I think so. I'll run one out because I could have the mana. And yeah, since we have the mana, we're just going to start, running the Bahamut's rather than worrying about, like, Lumbering would have been an okay option there too. And I'm not going to cast this cash grab because it's kind of pointless to cast without mana to really do anything. So Joint Exploration. So opponent is ramping too. There's some sort of now I try kind of think of the color combination with blue, white, and green. We haven't used color combinations so long. That one in particular. Anyway, there's some Bant. There we go. Bant is the color combination. I haven't seen a Bant deck in quite some time. So Mirix. It's got to be some sort of control shell. So Sunfall is actually not that big of a deal. Just gets rid of 2 cards that have gotten tons of value here, and in a turn, we will just grab another Overlord. I think it's better than a Wrenn, which that card's rotating as well, but it's kind of fun to play with right now. I didn't know why I didn't see it. So here, obviously, we just run out of Atraxa. And fill back up our hand. And at this point, we need a secondary Atraxa. We'll get the Lumbering Worldwagon. We can get a cash grab and an Esper Origins and a land. And I think what we discard here, we discard the Esper Origins, and I think just a cash grab's fine because we don't need the other one. So yeah, huge control deck with probably farming a lot of unfair decks for sure. I can see what this person is doing, which is what I like about this deck because we are unfair, but we're also fair. We're like, or we're also just a traditional ramp deck. So if their opponent shuts down our graveyard, if they do, other strategies, we can just grind them out with a lot of these other cards. I kind of want a manland too, just to really hit that point home. But we'll get in here with good old Atraxa, and we want the Worldwagon. Just going to negate my Worldwagon, huh? Then we will not Esper Origin, I don't think. Yeah, we'll Esper Origin. It's fine. And keep a portal for Phyrexia, I guess. It's fine. I mean, it gives us something to do. Like, I don't think we're going to have a graveyard. It's just going to get exiled again. But this does give us some mouse. So we have two Bahamut's they have to deal with. Like, the problem with my opponent, they still have a clutch full of cards. They're just going to cast a River Regent, which is fine because this actually allows my Portal Phyrexia just to hit. And, I mean, it's not going to... Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to cast a Trax, so we're just going to slam a Portal. Unless they play a land and then there's a negate. Nope, okay, yeah, but it's a Portal. We just slam it. And... I think we are in good position here. We do have to discard cards, so that Esper Origins again, and... At this point, I think like Kona is the weakest card because it doesn't really do anything. And we got, I mean, these Atraxas probably won't end up. I actually should have discarded an Atraxa. That was dumb of me because now I just get a Kona back rather than an Atraxa. I forgot I had a Portal Phyrexia out, but I mean, opponent has shown us a lot of graveyard removal, so that might not be the best. But yeah, that definitely was the play. I might actually just pump out a Bahamut here. An invasion, huh? What can my opponent have? Hopefully not a mill card and just wins by mill. Did they just win by mill? No. You may choose an art for a creature you control, copy it a bunch, and then a bunch of other stuff. So we'll get their own Regent, I think. Yeah, we'll get their Regent. So I do have a play. And we will get back rid of this. And do we even want an invasion back? And we'll, I don't know, just get those two back to their hand. I don't know how well that... Yeah, I actually just think a Bahamut's the better play here. And destroy this invasion. Because they have to answer the Bahamut. So they could return the River Regent. It's going to return a bunch of stuff. So now we're back to square one. And they go back another Heap Harvest. And do have mana open. So I don't even know here. We got to like cast some things. I mean, we're discarding a lot here. We don't want the Portal. Bahamut just is something they have to answer again. I think we'll go Overlord here. Because again, it's something they have to answer. And this will give us some lands too, which we have a clutch full of cards. And the Realmbreaker allows us to get in for 3. Yeah, this will work. And it does have vigilance too, so it allows us to actually cast an elf, which I think is fine. And again, this puts on under lethal with the elf in the oh, not anymore. Okay. Does not put lethal. So putting now 6 cards in hand. We'll discard all these dredgers because now they're kind of pointless. So I guess our opponent's whole thing is just to try to mill us. I'm not sure that's going to be the route. They can have the Ringer of Regents, so that was probably suited me to actually reanimate there. All right, so Day of Judgment kills a land. Ugh. So I don't even want to be popping these lands anymore if they're just going to get destroyed. All right, we got a Brushland. And let's tap the Brushland here, and I think we'll run out a Sephiroth. I think that's fine. And they're probably going to bounce it. So we just got to, like, not have our opponent draw a ton of cards and eventually they draw out. Or they have to... All right, 3 steps ahead. Discard, draw. And... go ahead and attack. And I'm not even sure I want to cast a Dredger's Insight. I think we can do one more. I don't think we're in any... like, milling 4 more cards I don't think is horrible here. Gives us another Portal Phyrexia. If we put a land this turn, I think we have. I think it's fine. Just have a secondary one. Like, our opponent has to win. Unless they're a mill strategy. Like, that's the only way they can... Like, even the Portal Phyrexia is relevant versus these mites. So they can go the Moranger of Regent, which would be kind of bad. Yeah, I wish... I actually need more lands and not losing these lands because I'm getting stopped by... not being able to cast multiple things. I mean, look at my hand. I got a lot of just insane cards. So we're going to bounce both of these. But then I can cast my Phyrexia Portal. And then that has to get negated. And then, I mean, we cast it again. I can also do Bahamut. I'm trying to decide which ones were... Like, Bahamut's probably easier to stick because a negate could be in the hand. Down to 3 cards. Gotta be a counterspell. They wouldn't have just ran that out. I could also just go Esper Origin. And I wouldn't hate that play. The Doppelgang, just some lands, huh? All right, I think I'm just going to Esper Origin. Because I know there's a counterspell in my opponent's hand. Phoenix Down's actually fine. Because we get a Kona back. I don't know if they have anything to actually interact with this. So we can go to our attack phase. Yeah, and it does hit. Okay, that actually worked out really well. And at this point, it is just going to be the... Yeah, Phyrexia Portal, I think, is more powerful. Because it gets rid of the Regent. They get at least, what, sacrifice a token? Man, they can make 2 Fountain Ports. They can make a ton per turn. But lots of card draw left, yeah. This is going to be very obnoxious. And I think we just pump out Wrenn again. And then don't lose a land to a board wipe here. So 4 cards in hand. They can create a bunch of tokens and sacrifice him and draw a million cards. Ugh. So this is the whole win con with this deck. It's just the Wrenn and Realmbreaker and making a bunch of tokens. Man, these decks just seem like they get so susceptible with like these Myrixes and Fountain Ports of not hitting like their Day of Judgment on turn 4. Or even their 3 steps ahead to be able to counterspell. Ancient Cornucopia. All right, 2 cards left. I know you can create some stuff, draw some stuff. God, I think there's a lot of pressure coming out, though. Actually, I need a Bahamut in my graveyard. That's where I need it to be, so I can start reanimating and destroying. I guess you're not really destroying many permanents here, because everything's lands. Of course, the first match we have to go against is a control deck. It takes 9 years to finish. I have to take care of both of these. They have blockers for them. The blockers are going to... That's a lot to actually create. And they're not... They do pay 1 life, too, to do so. Doppelgain to make 1 million Phyrexian portals, huh? Okay, I think that's what beats us. I guess I shouldn't have cast a Phyrexian portal. So I think we did lose the game there. And an Overlord of their own. Is there enough things to actually reanimate? Because we're going to get back one of them. And then we can kill another one with a Bahamut. What does my opponent reanimate from my end? An Overlord? Yeah, I think a Bahamut's the right play. And kill another Phyrexian portal. And I think we fail to find again. And what is my... Yeah, what do they have? They don't have anything they can hit on their end. On my end, they have a Sephiroth. Yikes. Okay, they do have a Sephiroth. But I can Phyrexian Portal again, and then we'll be playing this like Phyrexian Portal war. And Sephiroth gets just... On his deck, I'm not sure it will hit much. He'll hit a sorcery and a land. But... So it's just a doppelgang deck. And I guess no matter what I played there, it would have been bad for the... Oh boy. And 1 million mana for the Ancient Cornucopias. So it gets back Sephiroth and an Overlord of the Hauntwood. Which gets a Beza. Okay, a Meringue River Regent, which is rough too. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to have a target that's decent for... Yeah, because the Regent's going to bounce the Bahamut and their own Regent. Pretty sure I've lost this. I don't have another Doppelgang, but that basically can cast everything. And have 1 million life. So, I mean, the only way we would win this is if it goes down to 1 mil. Which I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. We're going to lose the Wrenn. What do we get reanimated back? We don't get anything reanimated back very good. So, they're actually probably going to take my portal. Bounce their own Regent back. Gets another... I don't know if I play this out, if my opponent can actually win. Because making them sack 3 like actually does... The problem is I can't cast enough stuff. I do just Phyrexia Portal, I think. I think I have to just kind of slow it down, but... Unless there's a counterspell. Okay, the negate does work. So yeah, I think we do lose in a couple turns because we're going to get hit by a lot. And opponent's just going to have bouncing Moraine River Regents that can get a ton of value. And we always click frowny faces no matter what, because we are sad. All right, so that one was pretty close, though. We almost closed it out before. It does struggle with decks that can. I did play some really drawn-out control matchups. And pretty 50-50 versus them. Because you do go down to the wire. And maybe that's something you can actually look to if control does continue to gain more of the meta share. You can do things that are a little more aggressive. And like you can always bring in, I think going in the future too, especially these control shells, like is the Stone Brain, I'm not sure if the Stone Brain is rotating, but other cards like that just rip out like one or two cards from opponent's hand library. Like at that point, like that deck I don't think can win without a Doppelgang. Or you take out maybe the Regent. Alrighty, so we'll start with the Razorverge Thicket. What I'm really loving about this deck is you can keep a majority of hands. And so, no duress, huh? So we do have a Phoenix down, so we want to get a Kona in the graveyard somehow. So I think we'll just cash grab at the end of the turn. And I'm sure my opponent is flashing in a... I know like the Fairy has made a comeback too. Yep, I called it, Fairy Mastermind. A lot of these cards we haven't seen in a long time have started to make a comeback. And these Dimir Enduring Creativity decks are really everywhere. So, as you can see, there's a Spyglass. And we're going to take 2 here. And then we can cash grab at the end of turn. And we could possibly... Like, Kona also doesn't have a very good target at the moment. And I'm perfectly okay if my opponent wants to negate this. Yeah, these control players are... I mean, that was a terrible counterspell, in my opinion. Terrible, because they could have just counterspelled whatever I played here. And the cash grab, like what? I just don't get a look at cards. They basically just countered a draw spell. So I can Dredger's Insight and just basically do the exact same thing that I was going to do. Or I can just go to the Lumbering Worldwagon and have the combo here active. I could even Wrenn, because Wrenn is probably bad. That's probably the worst play. Like a lot of options here are fine, but I actually think we go the Worldwagon. And that at least gives us a card. Opponent could go Enduring Creativity here, but then that would allow us to actually untap or untap without any tap lands. And Kona is like super strong if we had something in our hand. So of course we can draw a card in our hand. They're going to keep the Cecil. Okay, so it's not going to be an Enduring Creativity. They're going to hold up like counterspell mana. We are in a bit of a... yeah, I'm not sure that like Kona is the right play. Like Kona, we could just get tempoed out if I don't start going Dredger's Insight here. But I still think that Kona is the play. Especially the counterspell, we have Phoenix down next turn, but we desperately need to draw into something decent. If they don't counterspell, we get to activate the Lumbering Worldwagon and at least get another land. Okay, it is going to be a Phantom Interference number 2. And at least we get a hit a land drop as well. Here, opponent just has 3 cards in hand. There's one of them. We're going to go down to a 10, so we need to draw into an Atraxa or a... No Kaido coming out either. Okay, down to 1 card in hand. So, Phoenix down should hit here. We'll play the land, we'll play the Phoenix down. I should have done Dredger's Insight first in case I have some way to actually deal with this. And so Dredger's needs to hit something here. We should still get an activation off of Lumbering Worldwagon, worst case scenario. And I mean, we have good probability of hitting something. There we go. We got a Bahamut. Bahamut should be really good. We get a life here too, which is relevant. We get a Phoenix down. We get a Kona. And again, if worst case scenario, we still get to crew. Oh, no, we don't. We don't get a crew. Yeah, because it comes to play tapped. So they could have the lower price. And if that's the case, I mean, that's kind of the nuts. The opponent just had everything they need. I hope it's a cut down in their hand. So we get a Bahamut. And the Bahamut's going to kill the Fairy Mastermind. Like, gonna draw a card first. Each of us draw a card. Nope, gonna go with Flood Pits, huh? Which means that I take 6. So I'd hate to get tempoed out here. We do have ways to gain some life. One card in hand, no activation, no man land, so we're pretty decent here too. They're going to shuffle that back in. I mean, we can top deck. We have Esper Origins can surveil as well. That actually doesn't work. I think it's Wrenn for sure. Yeah, mill. And we could actually cast Esper Origins first. That might be the right play. I think that is the right play. Yeah, so we surveil both of these. Oh, no, it's surveil. It wasn't scry. So, yeah, that's fine. Both of these go to the bin. So it didn't matter. And now we mill. Yikes. Well, it is what it is with that. I think we just take back a... I don't know. Llanowar Rails because it's a blocker. And, well, I guess we didn't need that either, so... Oh, so... This guy get big when he has... half your starting life total, so... Is that where I want to be? That should still work. I still think I want 1 land. Oh, that actually puts... Has to deal combat damage first. Okay. So unfortunately, we hit some really terrible stuff there at the end. We've gone through half our deck without an Atraxa. Almost half the deck. The Esper Origins hopefully can find us something. Next turn, Enduring Curiosity is going to be weird. Now, where's my opponent want to go? At Wrenn or at my face? And they still have to deal with a big Worldwagon, so if a way to remove the Enduring Curiosity, I could actually win. And I'm definitely throwing a elf in front of this. So we got a lifelink, huh? Jeez. Okay. So we can definitely mill and kill Wrenn. Like, we just need to find anything here. And there's a Bahamut, which is fine. And crewing and trading with a card I still think is fine. We could do it with the Esper Origins. Now, we still do this for sure. Is it better for an Atraxa, though? Well, we don't have to go to attack phase quite yet, so I'm fine with this. So get rid of both of these. There's good old Sephirothi. So I don't have to attack if I don't want to. And in all honesty, I might not want to, because it just trades with an Enduring Curiosity. And I think I'd rather just... no attacks. Put in good old Sephiroth. And get back a Sephiroth. Is there something better? Nope, there's not. We do have another Wrenn we can get. We do have a Overlord. So I mean, this is fine to fill back up our hand. The Brushland can come out. We can actually use Overlord here, correct? Yeah, this is actually pretty strong. So now I think we're just really far ahead. And we have blockers for all of them. They do get indestructible, but other attacking creatures. So we can still block. We can still block all of them just fine. Honestly, don't think my opponent can't do anything to come back. They have one card in hand. They have to kill Sephiroth, and they'd still be in a weird position. They have to attack in with Cecil. Another Cecil's not decent here. And yeah, they should be scooping it up. This is what, a desperation attack here? So they gain indestructible, but lose that Cecil. So we are going to block the Cecil with the Atraxa. We just block everything. And take 2, and they just draw a card. And I go up to 15. And they're really desperate for any card, and I think there's going to be a scoop here. Because there's actually a lot of damage coming in. So, I don't know why opponent's going through the motions, because we can just go Bahamut, kill a blocker. We could really dig if we wanted to for a portal, but I think just hard casting a Bahamut is fine. Because it also gives us a crew on the Worldwagon. We kill a Cecil. There's one of the blockers out of the way, and they're right there. My opponent can't survive enough. And we can actually even throw out another card. I just wonder if we could actually, so we just crew. And that's plenty lethal. Because only 1 to block, and it's a 6-5, and it's 11, yeah, or 10. Okay, maybe it's not plenty lethal. Yes, it's still lethal. Because they had to use the land. Okay. Yeah, we're fine. Because the land had to be tapped to tap down the Sephiroth. So that was pretty good hand by Dimir too. I don't know like what you'd want more out of a hand. Maybe like the Enduring Curiosity a turn earlier, but they had the removal. They had like Disruption, of course. So Dimir ends up being a pretty decent matchup. They have to get a very aggressive tempo draw. So we have 15 more Atraxas to go to complete our daily. Didn't cast many Atraxas in that game. It cheated them into play. Actually, I don't think we end up casting. The thing that I do love about this iteration of this deck list compared to yesterday's is the ability to cast Atraxa. It was very tough beforehand, and right now it's easy. We're doing it all the time. So we have good old Llanowar Elves. This is going to be an old school human deck. I haven't seen like a human deck in a long time. Gonna shelter on an elf, huh? That was rude. Definitely slowed me down. You should attack into with this veteran survivor. Do it. Attack in. Well, we will block. Do you have any pump spell for this? Because that was the stupidest attack I've seen in a long time. As I got an elf for an elf. Wrenn is fine here, but typically with these ones, like I actually could go Kona. No, Kona just doesn't. This is another one where Kona just doesn't have a good target, unfortunately. And that's kind of the issue with these kind of ramp decks is you have to find a good balance between ooh, are they doing the same thing I'm doing? Double Phoenix down, huh? Okay, so here I think same thing. We just do the same thing we did the turn before. And yeah, just attack in. So double, what are they doing with Phoenix Downs? So during my turn, what does this do? Just creates a 2/2. I could get templed out here. I was going to say, but I mean, that just... Yeah, we just drew. We top decked what we needed. So we will crew. Attack. And watch our opponent scoop after this. And we can now cast this for nothing? Oh yeah, because it dies. It allows it just to cast for nothing when the Aven dies. That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's no way. I don't think there's any way our opponent can come back from this. They get Phoenix down. Phoenix down can actually get back a Dion. So there's a lot more interesting things that can happen. So in response, they're just going to grab whatever I grab with a Phoenix down. So of course, let's just go for a Veteran Survivor. I guess I could have gone for my Llanowar Elf. Okay, so yeah, so we made them use it. We knew they were going to use whatever. I could have cash grabbed, held priority, and cash grabbed. So, back to a very similar board state. The problem is I believe I'm going to find something off of either the Wrenn or the cash grab, whether it be a Detraxa. Well, maybe nothing there. We'll grab another Wrenn, a backup Wrenn. Or we're not going to find anything. I mean, at this point, like another Lumbering World... Or no, Dredger's Insight gives us another chance. We're just going to keep doing this. We're going to find a Detraxa. They exist. Well, Bahamut works. And we can crew. And then attack. Get another land. And this is another thing, the Wrenn and Realmbreaker, that makes the Traxxas castable. Put this into play. Kill this. And we're in, of course, insane shape. Not sure what our opponent can do at all to get out of this mess. And Guardian of New Benalia. So are they trying to really work off these, like, reanimation? What other stuff would they get, though? I mean, Shelter's fine. It takes care of a Bahamut. So my opponent's still in this, actually. Other than I get back a Dion from the portal, which is going to be really rough for my opponent to deal with. Are they going to exile their own card? Of course I'm going to block. I don't know why they didn't attack here. I'll probably say they needed a blocker, not called a Guardian, but they could tap the Guardian. So yeah, it's going to be... We'll get a Dion. What does it even do? Owner's control. So we don't want to activate this ability. It goes under its owner's control, not under its controller's control. But at least we get a 2/2. And we also have another realm. We have two activations of Wrenn and Realmbreaker to try to find an Detraxa. And at this point, you know, half our deck gone. We most likely would find one. We would have 2 more portals and 1 more Bahamut. And instead of just conceding the game, our opponent is going to be a trash human and just rope, because that's what 90% of arena players do. Because Magic the Gathering, I want to say, has the most toxic community ever, but I have played Dota, so I won't go that far. But yeah, so ay. So we'll wait till these ropes go down, and I guess we can kind of talk about some theory. So the smugglers, so we have the sorcery spell. I wish I could pull up other cards while talking here. The sorcery out of Alice of Thunder Junction is they can mill cards as well as put a card, 2 creature cards into play. Gets super strong post rotation because we won't be using these portal to Phyrexias. And I'm pretty sure in this set there are spaceships. There's got to be some big dumb creatures that are going to be printed out of Edge of Eternities. So if anything, it's going to make those even more broken. Kona also, you got to think of the vehicles, the spaceships are broken too. That is something that is eligible to reanimate with Kona. Not reanimate, just cheat into play with Kona. Let's see here. I think we just activate both and attack in. Again, I don't know if my opponent is AFK'd or not. I don't know if I mill or just... Yeah, we just mill again just to hit a target with Kona. There's Sephiroth. And then crew. And then crew. Another thing I like about the Overlords is this crewing of the Worldwagons. We had double Worldwagons, so there has to be a block here. Oh, opponent's just AFK'd. Alrighty. So yeah, this one works really. This is typically how these mid-range battles go. And as I stated, this deck is a lot more fun, or a lot more resilient to a lot of the traditional disruptions that reanimation decks have to kind of deal with. We did not cast into tracks of the game. All right, well, let's play one more. And maybe I should try some best of threes. But again, this is still in the early process of the deck of trying to figure out what works. Like right now, I'm still feeling like possibly there should be like one or two more reanimation targets, because we have had a lot of those games where we're kind of just crossing our fingers and hoping to find one. But I mean, a hand like this, though, you got to think you're going to find it. You're going through 4, 8, 12 cards. We're going to be drawing at least 3. So we do have to find the pieces, but we should find them. Okay, so no Llanowar Elf. It's definitely a card that is super strong, and this is going to be Boros Convoke, it looks like. So we'll start off with a Dredger's Insight. And opponent's going to flash in a card for sure. They're, you don't keep up 2 mana for. Let's go ahead and get the Phoenix down. All right, so we found one of the pieces here. Next turn, we can go Cash Grab again, I would say, or Dredger's Insight again. And my opponent forgot to flash that in. That's unless they drew it, but we're on their phase. They didn't put a stop, and so that's a horrible misplay there. So let's go Forest, and I don't want to go Worldwagon because we need to try to find what we need here. We could end a turn Cash Grab too in case they have some sort of way to deal with it, but I think this is fine because we can actually just cast a Phoenix down here. I don't think there's going to be anything my opponent does to deal with it. Do we just take another Phoenix down, or do we go Llanowar Elf? Like I could just go Llanowar Elf here, and then have a Llanowar Elf, which actually does, potentially be a blocker. Or just more ramp, which I think is better than going the second Phoenix down. And we're at 22. That's what I like about these Dredger's Insights too. They're not like, the life gain isn't nothing. Unfortunately, we just have a Cash Grab left. This is going to be a target, this is rough. I could, kill. Ooh, they're going to Convoke. So, opponent is definitely finding what they need here. We need an Atraxa to stabilize. Another interesting thing too, going into black of these token-based strategies and getting all the stuff that gives -2/-2. Okay, they do have the Modi too. This is gonna be rough. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to hit this one. We ended up needing to dig too much. We could find it here. This Cash Grab has to be perfect. It needs to find a. Ooh, we could go Esper Origins and Surveil 2, but Surveil 2 is not as good. So we'll Cash Grab here. And yeah, we missed, unfortunately. So, yeah, Phoenix down it is. And at this point, I think we just go Esper Origins and hold back a blocker, but I think we just die here. Yeah, we just missed everything. We went through so much for our library trying to find, anything. And unfortunately, we just found a bunch of lands. So going through, again, 35. We're actually 35 deep, or 25 deep into our deck with no Atraxa or Kona. So that's very unlucky. Because by this point, and that's why I kept the hand, because odds are you're going to find one of each of them. They're 4 ofs. So you're going to have at least 2 of them in your first, 30 cards. Here we can stabilize, but I don't know if it's enough. We have the battle cry effect too. Yeah, actually, do we just die here? Just it's 26 damage. Hey, it's not lethal, but we don't have anything that can actually. And yeah, that still didn't do anything. That is rough. We drew into our lance. We just kind of dirtled there and did nothing. Yeah, Traxa, I think it doesn't even stabilize at that point. Actually, it might. I don't know if my opponent has enough damage to bust through Natraxa. All right, that one was a terrible game. We'll play one more. I always say let's play one more, but that one was a pretty poor showing. That was 2 games in a row where we milled like crazy. The other game that we did finally hit it on our last cards before we really hit that midpoint of our deck. I'm not sure. No, that definitely was not a mulligan, because if you just go odds-wise, the chances, I mean, we're in the same boat as we were. Like, another thing too, I did think about running, like if you do go in the Naya version, you could run the Fear of Missing Out, and that gives another way to like put the Kona in the graveyard if you need to, if you have a hand with like a Phoenix down and a Kona. And Naya does get some very interesting things. Like I said, going to like a Yuna mid-range, and then you do have the reanimation aspect from Yuna, and you're just like a mid-range ramp deck. You're just casting cards at that point. You're not really trying to ramp into like just a turn 3 Kona into like an Overlord is super powerful on its own, and then you can just end up firing off those Overlords anyway if you don't have the combo. And that's like another angle of this deck. And I know that deck does exist. Like, people have ran a ton of them, of those iterations. Vine Lasher. This is going to be a spicy brew. So Dredger number 3 is something that I was not happy to see, because especially here I think I'm going to have to take a land. I could be greedy here and take the Portal, but unfortunately, like, we absolutely need this land, and I don't want to roll the dice and miss my 3rd land drop. It looks like we're just going against lizards. So we need some luck here, because these aggro decks are... Okay, and I drew a land, so now I'm kicking myself there. So Lumbering Worldwagon, I think, is the play, because it ramps us, and it sets up the Kona. The problem is we have to top deck into a card. And the best thing we're getting off a Kona is just like a Dredger's Insight. We might just die here. Okay, and this is going to hit the Kona, which isn't the end of the world, because now we can draw into a Phoenix down and still be okay. Oh boy. So we'll start off with Dredger. And we basically get nothing. Okay. Very bad luck here. We'll do another Dredger. And we have to take the Atraxa. Yeah, super rough. Super, super rough that now we've gone through half our deck without a Phoenix down. So yeah, these are bad. Definitely bad variance games, because we're just like missing a few of that thought Warlock was also rough. This we really have to YOLO here. Esper Origins, we could Surveil to and hope to hit a Phoenix off the top, and we have a Lumbering we can crew. Like, that stabilizes us. That puts a 4/4, but it just doesn't get what we need. We need this Atraxa. So I got to go cash grab. I have to try to hit a Phoenix down. We're going through 4 more cards. It's literally half our deck. Well, not. Oh boy. We do get a Kona. Oh yeah, we need a Kona Aura. Yeah, never mind. We could hit a Kona Aura Phoenix down. If we would have hit something there, yeah, I would have been super salty. I could have a removal spell. If it's a removal spell, we just die. It is a go for throw. Opponent does need to hit a land though, right? Well, you can see that I found all of my basics in the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they did have a land or a hired claw. Alrighty, they did have the go for the throw. Jeez. So I guess you can see when variance doesn't like you. Like, this makes me super salty when I go against those stupid Zombify decks that don't even draw a card and just naturally have the Zombify in their hand every stinking game to get their their 8 drop out that then reanimates another card, and or the, like the same with the Rakdos. I guess they draw a lot through the draw discard as well. Okay, let's try this. This one now doesn't have the combo pieces, but this has a really cool mid-range strategy. And this is another reason why I like this deck, because we're going to go into turn 2 Lumbering Worldwagon. Ugh, control. This actually is a decent little hand versus control, though. We got the Phoenix down, which is kind of bad versus this in this matchup. I think the Worldwagon's better because we can actually ramp into the Overlord the next turn. And we can actually oh geez. Of course my opponent's gonna keep back mana though. So I don't know if I do. No, you just go for it. You slam it. If they have it, they have it. Womp womp. Okay, so they do have a normalize. So yeah, I still think that's the play. Fortunately, we hit our third elf now. So what is the play here? I think we just main cash grab because we need something to do. And if we hit, we hit. It's going to be a Kona. Don't have the second mana for the Phoenix down, so I'm not gonna run it out. And I don't know why it tapped that way. I need to turn off auto tap because I should be getting in for a mana here. So here, if my opponent does like fire off a Day of Judgment, we do have Phoenix down next turn. Or that works too. Okay, so we get a Sephiroth. So this is pretty good. Sweet. So we do get to fill back up our hand. And maybe we cannot draw another Llanowar Elf now, which is awesome. And I'll cast it. I don't care if we did Judgments it, whatever. So we'll take the Portal. We'll take a Bahamut. We'll take a Dredger's Esper Origins, a Dredger's Insight. Is there another creature that we could take if we don't take it that way? Yeah, if we go, we can take 2 Bahamuts. Yep, that's better. 2 Bahamuts, a Portal, Phyrexia, cash grab, and we'll take a Forest. And we can crew. Oh, wow, guess we didn't. That was post main. So now actually that was bad because now we can do the destroy both tap creatures. So split up. So I think I could attack and I just had a brain fart there. Let's go with just attacking in. We just Kona and attack in. Okay. And they're gonna be nice and do that right now. So we can put it on the Worldwagon, which is actually strong. I don't know if actually putting on the Llanowar Elf might be better just so we can activate it. And let's go ahead and attack in. See if there's another. Get lost on the Sephiroth. I think the Worldwagon actually might be stronger than Sephiroth in this. Yeah, it definitely is. I think that was a misplay by my opponent because I absolutely think the Worldwagon is the card that can be activated at any point. So we go Esper Origins here. And at this point, that's fine. The cash grab can go in the bin. And I still think on the wagon is the right play to go. Because this puts lethal next turn. If my opponent can't deal with it. 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, actually not. Yeah, Esper Origins. Esper Origins can crew it. Stock Up's not going to do it. We're going to... play land, they need another Get Lost. So this is the best feeling in the world, having a garbage hand, having a Traxa. Okay, so they could map. We're not out of the woods yet because it's definitely Esper Origins. And they could counterspell here as well. No, we can actually pay it. We'll get rid of both of these. Okay, we will play a land. We will crew. And now they have to have another map. Or get lost. And we'll go to attacks. Soul Partition, huh? Okay, not Other Woods yet. Other than this, Worldwagon is now lethal too. So there have to have a board wipe. We can cast this one. We can start just casting Phyrexia Portals or Bahamut's. Bahamut's can actually get a temporary lockdown, which I'm not even sure if that's relevant. Yeah, it is. It actually is relevant because then we can... Well, it doesn't matter. Bahamut's just better so we can actually activate the Worldwagon. So, yeah, I have to have a ton of control in their hand. Don't necessarily need to board wipe here. Jace. Don't think Jace is going to... So they need to No More Lies. Oh, they're just going to mill. So they have another kill spell? Oh, that is obnoxious. Yeah, we just fired off. And I think you just kill Jace. So obviously they have another kill spell. They wouldn't have played the way they did. We'll go ahead and attack in. Okay, the flunker by exiling my graveyard? No, scry and gain life, huh? So they still do have to block. And take 5. So still lethal. This is still... Yeah, we can Phoenix down here, I think. Just, no, we have so much mana. It doesn't really matter. I think just keeping it in hand's fine. It's 6s. I think I'll just keep it in my hand. Because I don't want, like, temporary... Like, they go a board wipe and a temporary lockdown. I guess it wouldn't have mattered. Okay, and they tapped out. They are tapped out. There's nothing that yep, can do the Bahamut. So, best feeling in the entire universe. And that was, that was a really good control hand. So both the Dimir and the this Azorius control, I think, showed what like an average good control hand does, and where this deck can just draw out of it. Again, we are going to have to find a good replacement to Atraxa, because Atraxa is still the best target to cheat into play, just because well, it depends on the meta. When in this particular meta where card advantage is everything, it definitely is the best card. But you saw like last meta, people weren't even playing Atraxa. They were trying to reanimate other stuff. And like the Overlord, the 7-drop Overlord, I think is pretty decent. Again, we can look at what I'm talking about here with this other Kona one that I've been kind of messing around with cards that I think will go good in this deck. So I thought even this Altanok and Say Its Name is still definitely interesting, because the amount of times it's so easy to get 3 Say It Names in your graveyard. But anyway, the Overlords, like going into an Abzan, you can wrap this out on turn 3 to get 2/2/1s with Llanowar Elves. That's a clock. Like just 2/2/1s is good. It helps you stabilize. The Overlord starts ticking down. It has some inevitability that's going to come out and start taking over the game by itself. You can even easily ramp into 7 mana with, Overlord to Overlord. We've all seen that play a billion times. I mean, this is quite unfortunate that these cards exist, because I think they're going to push out any other cards that are in this sort of mid-range slot. As I was looking, like, there'd be a fun little Dragons deck. That's what kind of what Omniscience banned, too, because it pushes out cards that it's like, why not just play Omniscience? So there is is it called Dragon Storm or something? Dracogenesis, which is 8 mana. So what is Omniscience? 10 mana. So it's 1 more mana. I mean, you're not hard casting either one of these. And Kona can actually cheat in Dracogenesis, and that'd be a fun little shell in this Naya shell too. Or if you actually go into a Teamer shell, I mean Teamer splash Phoenix down, you'd have to, your mana base would definitely have to be greedy. I mean Shocklands are definitely going to allow us to be very greedy in this next format. But then Dracogenesis has some cool little combos you can do with the Meringue River Regent and just bouncing a bunch of dragons with ETB effects. And of course we can still go into Omniscience. And the thing about like going into this too is as Yuna is another thing that can cheat these in. Like Yuna cheating in an Omniscience isn't nearly as good though, because it is at the beginning of your end step. So then you can't cast, unless there's sorcery speed, you can't cast everything out of your hands. You have to wait an entire turn to really go off. So it has that drawback to it. But there are plenty of other like black spells I think are worth cheating into play. And again, Edge of Eternities I think will give us a lot of big dumb vehicles that are going to have ETB triggers, because I think that Wizards has realized that there needs to be ETB effects on vehicles. Like either Haste won't work with this particular deck because they'll come into play post-combat. But if there is vehicles that have some pretty busted ETB effects, like Kona is just going to be super strong with those. So we'll definitely keep our eye out for it. But this is kind of the post-rotation shell that I've been messing around with. But always in the comment section below, let me know your ideas of Kona. And I'm seeing a lot more decks pop up too with this Phoenix Down Kona, because he's super strong. As you saw, it's very resilient. I continue to go up against flunkers, the one that exiles the graveyard. We saw the Cease in the Bant list. That was exiling the graveyard early, and it, you know, kind of set us back, but not horribly bad. And even with this post-rotation deck, like, we don't utilize the graveyard like it's Yuna will, but it won't utilize with the Phyrexia portal. But we do have, as I stated with this black one, you still do have the persistence. Or virtue. Yeah, persistence, I had it right. So Virtue of Persistence still exists, which is a very interesting card. I think, like, if you do have to shoot it off for its -3, sure. But this is another target that's it's not too terrible with Kona if you've been self-milling. Like say, you know, you go into a Dredger's Insight, grab the Virtue of Persistence, and then you Kona into play, and then you, whatever, instead of grabbing the creature, you just grab the Virtue of Persistence, you cheat the Virtue of Persistence, beginning of your upkeep, then you will get another creature back. So it will have that Phyrexian Portal type ability attached onto it. So definitely not as good though. Like you're only getting the one side and not getting the trade-off is you do have that early removal. But yeah, a lot of things that are absolutely huge potentials with Kona going forward. Anyway, as always, I hope you enjoyed this deck tech. And we'll keep playing around with this deck. I do have, like, there are a few other decks. Maybe we'll show that really quickly. What I've been messing around with. Like, this Monument of Control is still, I'm still obsessed with the Monument of Endurance. I think this card still has a ton of potential and just needs the right shell. And now that the format is actually slowing down, like, I'm actually really liking this deck with this particular shell that I've got going with Monument of Endurance, because this is actually a control shell. You control, and actually you just want one monument out, and then you copy it with like the shapeshifter, or there's a few ways you can actually copy the Monument of Endurance through the lands, the shapeshifter, or the 3 steps ahead, and then it's just like end step, discard card, on your turn discard a card, and then hold priority on your opponent's turn, discard a card. And if you have 3 monuments out, I mean, right there is 18 damage, or no, way more than 18 damage. It's 27 damage. So if you have 2 of them out, it's 18 damage. So it's, if you've done any sort of other damage, there's a lot of wins, and that's how this deck goes out. So still messing around with lots of things. So really good to be back, actually brewing decks. I know this channel has absolutely died from its glory days, but yeah, we are going to continue to brew and figure out some stuff here. And as always, Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder. Thanks for watching.